out in that perspective then. If you look at the invasions themselves, the first ever invasion, of course, from that part of the country into India took place in about 718 or so. But post that, the real major main invasions took place from the 12th century onwards till about the 16th century, and they've had a massive impact on India. When we look at this impact and we talk about this impact, of course, we continue to reel and we continue to feel that impact even today. When you look at invasions that have taken place, and especially if you look at Babur and the others, what was significant in what they did, and how does it continue to impact us?
Okay, that's a lot of ground. Actually, when you say alien invasions into India, prior to the Islamic invasions, we had Alexander, we had the Shakas, we had the Kushans, we had the Hunas, and after that there was a lull until the invasion of Muhammad bin Qasim. Before we actually get into the Qasim part of the story, we have to get a sort of cultural or political kind of understanding of the background in which they took place. Before Qasim, or generally speaking, before the Islamic invasions of India began, all the invasions that happened into India were what you call happened at the hands of people, or rather, let me put it this way: these were non-Abrahamic invasions, right? They didn't come from Arabia, meaning both Christianity. They predated both Christianity and Islam. So that is the first thing we have to remember. Now, coming specifically to Qasim, it was not an invasion per se. It was more in the nature of a temporary raid. But it was, what it did was that it introduced India, rather some parts of northwestern India, undivided India, of which today's Afghanistan and Pakistan were also included. What it did to those regions was that for the first time, it introduced the concept of an all-out war, which Hindus in India had been alien to them, in the sense that they couldn't figure out that, a war can be fought even in this fashion, like where there are no rules, where there is no dharma, smash and grab. There are some things, even while a war was being waged within India, between different kings, there were certain no-go areas. For example, unarmed combatants, you should not touch them. Unarmed citizens, rather, you can't touch them. Farmers, you can't touch them. You can't break down temples. You can't slaughter cows. You can't, abduct women. So there were certain well-agreed rules. Even in case of war, a code of honor, a code of ethics, if you will.
So this was no holds barred, basically.
This was no holds barred. So for the first time, Qasim's raid, because Muhammad bin Qasim, when he came first into India, he came via Makran Sea coast, okay, which is today again in Pakistan, in the Sindh region. So he came via the coast, and then he succeeded in defeating and killing Raja Dahir or Dahar, and then he went all the way up to Mulasthana, which is Multan today. So in that region, which is roughly maybe little greater than the area of today's Karnataka or something, roughly that size, or little more than that. So in that region, the amount of devastation that he caused was untold. Because, one thing is that, bloodshed and killing and all that happens. That is obviously, that's why a war is fought. It happens. It comes. It's part of the package deal, but not this kind of a thing, where people are slaughtered. Like, genocide is par for the course. And if that was not enough, it came with another motivation, the motivation of religion. That, you have been ordained by Allah to, wage war upon the infidels, and, whatever you capture them, they all become slaves. Slavery, slave taking in war was unknown until Muhammad bin Qasim came.
In a sense, would you say that it was completely barbaric?
Completely barbaric, totally savage.
And it was something that we were not prepared for, because it was something that we had never seen, and we always fought by the rules. And someone on the other side fighting without any rules, without any dharma, it becomes so totally different. It was an all new beast that we were exposed to, wasn't it?
Correct. So you didn't know how to grapple with something like this. Okay, the only rule is to break the rule. So that is the whole point. So that Qasim stayed in India for only about a small part of India for only about 3 years. Then he went back to Iraq, where he was treated as a common prisoner. He was bound in fetters. Then he was skinned alive, and power politics in Central Asia, basically. So he became a victim to that. So that was the first introduction. After that, there was a lull for about 300 years, nearly 300 years, which is when Mahmud Ghazni came from Ghazni or Ghazana in Afghanistan. Even today, that is a very contentious area, that's a very treacherous kind of a place. And, the amount of wars that have been fought there historically is almost innumerable. So anyway, a separate book can be written only about that city. So Mahmud came from Ghazana, and for the first time, he introduced a far more brutal warfare, a far more, savage warfare in what can be, I'm using this word for the sake of convenience, in what can be called mainland Bharatavarsha. So all of northwestern India, large parts of northern India, all the way up to Gujarat, which is Somnath. So the first destruction of Somnath temple in Gujarat was done by Mahmud of Ghazni. So that marks a turning point, a very, very decisive turning point in the history of early medieval India.